So yeah, we got a unique situation here today. So I am out of town, out of my normal office, and I don't have very good internet right now. So for next week's webinars, I should have much better internet. So Mike and I are kind of doing a tag team here. So we're actually looking at Mike's machine. Mike's broadcasting the video, and I'll be doing the audio here. So Mike and I are just going to have to work together and to do this workshop. All right, let's go into BlackBird, and I'll show you some enhancements there. All right, so let's open up the order settings window there, Mike. And the big one is scheduling. So let's open up scheduling. And let's turn on the scheduling there. And now you'll see there's a new option there at the top right that says force trades to exit. All right, so the way this works is let's load up a session to get this working here. So yeah, open that and scroll all the way down to the bottom. We'll use US equities RTH. Yeah, regular trading hours. Okay, so you can see that basically, right, trading stops at 4 o'clock Eastern time. So this force trades to exit, it's very similar to NinjaTrader's force trades to exit. Well, NinjaTrader's, they call it something slightly different, but NinjaTrader also has an option for strategies that will close out your positions so many seconds before the session ends. So, but one thing that ours has that NinjaTrader doesn't is ours can go into negative numbers. So let's say, for example, let's open up Monday there, Mike, and let's change the end time. Yeah, so let's change the end time to, say, 3:45. Yeah, so say you want, so let's say you want your last position to be opened 15 minutes before the market closes, right? So we don't want any new positions 15 minutes prior to the market closing. So that's what we've done there. And it doesn't show up because the gradation is in hours. You know, if we change the gradation to every 15 minutes, which I guess we'll show you that here real quick. So Mike, if you right click on the right there where the time is, yeah, right click and put it on 15 minutes. There. So now if we scroll down, you'll see on Monday there, right, Monday, the last trade is going to end, will be taken 15 minutes prior to the market closing. Now, going back to the force trades to exit option, we can put a negative value in there. So let's say, you know, we don't want to close out the trade at 3:45. We want to wait at least until 4 o'clock to close out the trade. So what we can do is basically calculate the number of seconds that 15 minutes is. So it'll be 15 times 60. And let's see here. Let's pull up the calendar or calculator and see how many seconds that is. All right, so 15 times 60 seconds. All right, so that's 900 seconds. So Mike can put in there negative 900 seconds. All right, so negative 900 seconds. All right, that's 15 minutes. And so what that'll do is if you have a trade on, if you have a trade open at 3:45, Raven is going to wait for 900 seconds after 3:45 to close out your trade. So basically, Raven will not flatten that open trade until 4 o'clock or 900 seconds after the session ends. All right, so I hope that makes sense to you guys. So before I go any further, let me just kind of see if there's any kind of questions on this. It's just pretty straightforward math in using this force trades to exit thing. So
Hey Zach,
now we are.
I just wanted to bring up real quick that there's weird characters up here, and that's because this is a Swedish test machine, and that's why those characters are a little weird.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you guys might see some Swedish words in this VMware, so we didn't quite have enough time to switch it all over. But all right, and so in this example, we just kind of showed you Monday, where the last trade would be taken at 3:45. Of course, you might want to do that for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So basically, you can mix and match as you want. Now, let's just say, for example, on Friday, let's say on Friday you want to stop trading half an hour before the market closes. Well, so that'd be 3:30 on Friday. So let's just change Friday, change that to 3:30 here real quick. Yeah. Now, still, since we have the force to exit set to negative 900, that's going to apply to Friday as well. So that means BlackBird will flatten out your position at 3:45, right? So right now there's no way to define separate exit times by day of the week, right? So, but like I said, we have some further enhancements that we're going to add to the scheduling. So more refined or more detailed settings will be coming in for some further updates there. So, all right. So the next update that we added is in the money management. Let's open up the money management here. And down at the bottom where it says enable daily watermark, now there's a new option there that says enforce during live trade. Right? So a live trade is what you call unrealized profit and loss. So this is kind of the beginning part, kind of like the first step in getting BlackBird to start working with unrealized profit and loss. So a lot of people have asked to have BlackBird basically close out and stop trading for the day based on unrealized profits and loss. And so this is kind of the first step in getting that incorporated. So you can see right now it's hooked into the daily watermark feature. So it doesn't apply to the settings up top there where there's some daily safeguards up on top. So we have like max number of trades, and also we have max profit or loss, slightly down. So we have net max profit, and oh, I'm sorry, actually that's right. There are some enforced during live trades right there as well. Yeah, so if we check those, and then they're right, so you can turn on unrealized profits and loss to disable BlackBird for the day. So there is currently these the enforced during live trade. Those options only work for that instance of BlackBird, right? So they only work for BlackBird on an individual basis. So they don't work for the group. So if you're running BlackBird in a group mode, so yeah, right there. So those options you can see get disabled, right? So we don't have it working for group mode because that gets a lot more complicated. Um, so we need to try and come up with a good algorithm as to how we handle group mode. So, but for now, at least you have the option for each individual. Now running BlackBird as an individual there. So, um, all right, and let's see. So I think that pretty much covers the enforced during live trade. Um, the next thing is we're just going to have to kind of simulate a trade. So yeah, let's turn all those off, Mike. That's good. Perfect. Yeah, let's turn that off. All right. So Mike, let's just make a quick OCO order set. Um, yeah, we'll just do a 10 tick target, and we'll do a trailing stop loss actually. Uh, just use one that quick. Here we go. Look, yeah, perfect. Okay, and let's see. Thinking if we need to set up a trade signal. No, we don't need to set up a trade signal. Yeah, that's good enough. Yep, we can just click OK. And next, Mike, let's go to the BlackBird layout and let's turn on the order monitor chart panel. Yeah, so here's the next enhancement here. So you guys see the auto trailing on button, the green one there? Yeah, so we kind of enhanced that a little bit. Um, and so we'll get a trade going here. Let's see. Yeah, Mike, how about just click go short or go long? Just get a trade going.
Do you want to go ahead and connect to the simulated data? Make it easier.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yes. Okay, yeah, we need to switch over to simulated data, guys, just so we can illustrate this better, so we don't have to wait for the market to cooperate with us. Yeah. Everything should be good. And all right. So that's all right. Mike, why don't you move that profit target up a little bit so we don't get it hit too soon? Yeah, it's way up there. All right, so let's just wait for this stop loss to start trailing here. And oh, actually, Mike, your auto trailing is turned off. So notice when Mike moved his profit target, it turned the auto trailing off. So Mike, move your profit target one more time. So Mike grabbed that flag, and if you look, the auto trailing is turned off right now. So you see how it's grayed out and turned off? Yeah, so Mike, why don't you let's move that profit target back out of the way. And so if we can turn it back on, so there is another enhancement as we made that trailing, auto trailing on and off really obvious. Um, so, and so if you touch any of your order flags, so if you touch your profit target or if you grab your stop loss, so if Mike grabs the stop loss and moves it back down, the auto trailing button will turn back off. And so you see it's turned back off. And so whenever you're ready for the auto trailing to, and whenever you're ready to have your order start auto trailing again, you can just click the button and the auto trailing turns back on. And of course, it's just going to move your stop loss right back up to where it is. So there you go. There's another enhancement right there. You can turn the auto trailing on or off automatically. Mike could just click the button and that'll turn the auto trailing off. And then when you're ready for the auto trailing to turn back on, just click your button again and you're good to go. So, um, yeah. All right. Let's see. There was one other subtle, very subtle enhancement here. So we'll just kind of point it out now. All right. Let's close out this position, and then we need to open up the order settings window, and we're going to delete the OCO order set. So if you click the red X there, right, it deletes the whole order set like that. So now if we click OK and look at the trade controls panel, you see how the go long and go short buttons are all kind of grayish. You see how the colors kind of toned down. So what that's telling you, see how everything has kind of a gray look to it. So what that's telling you is that you don't have an order defined, and so of course you can't put an order on if you haven't defined an order yet, right? So when the order settings window, when the OCO set is empty, then that those chart trader buttons basically go into a disabled state, and they always were disabled, but now we've just kind of enhanced the look to it, made it a little more obvious there. So, all right, well, that kind of covers it for the for this round of updates here, and there'll be more to come later on. So let's cover the management buttons here. Um, so you see all the button ribbon at the top. Those are what we call the management buttons, right? All of those buttons up there. They have various management, like money management, risk management. There's just, scheduling management, things like that. File management. So these are all, somewhat management type buttons here. Um, so we'll start at the left side with the file management buttons there. So you can see there's a open, save as, and clear, right? Those are just, your basic file, saving buttons there. So when, when you've got your money management set up, if you're using Bloodhound or an indicator signal, you got your risk management, you got your scheduling, and you've also got an OCO order set up. When you get all this window set up, all the options set up the way you like it, then the next thing you want to do is you want to save that to a file. So that way you can open this exact same settings up tomorrow and use them tomorrow. So, um, yeah. And so, yeah. So if you just hit the save or save as, you can put some kind of a name in there and save that to a file. And it's just so I think most of you are familiar with Bloodhound, right? You can save all your settings, to a file, and then at any point you can open that file back up again and load those settings back into Bloodhound. I mean BlackBird. Sorry guys. Um, Bloodhound and BlackBird names are really similar. Um, right. So and the only unique button up there is the clear button. So of course if you hit clear, that's just going to wipe everything clean. It'll just remove all of your settings. So, yeah, just like that. So all the settings are now all been turned off there. So, um, so all right. So the next management button we have is the risk management. So the risk management comes into play um, in two uses of BlackBird. So one is if you're using BlackBird as an auto trader, right? That's where the risk management um, will come into play. And also if you're using the dynamic planning within BlackBird, that also is where the risk management will come into play, right? So, the risk management is a pretty basic concept here. So if we enable it, um, what you can do is, so like if you're using BlackBird as an auto trader, and let's say you're using an indicator that is going to set the location for your stop loss, right? Let's just say you're using just a simple 20 tick profit target, um, and we're using an indicator to set our stop loss, right? Well, you never really will know where that indicator might be setting your stop loss. So you might have different risk reward ratios, right? So that's what this is doing. This is doing a double check on your risk reward ratios, um, and maintaining a minimum risk reward ratio. So there are traders out there that won't take a trade unless they have a kind of a minimum risk or risk to reward ratio, and that's what this does here. So now we've actually the settings. When you actually take a risk reward ratio and put it into a settings, you actually have to do it backwards. So that's why this option says reward to risk ratio, all right? Because when you're using a risk reward ratio, the reward is always higher than the risk, right? That's typically how most people want to trade, is with a reward that's higher than the risk, right? So basically your risk is considered as 1, and then you want to set your reward up. So by default, right, it starts at a 2 reward to 1 risk. So if you have a 10 tick stop loss, then your reward, your profit target, needs to be a minimum of a 20 tick profit target. And that's what that will do here. So, so again, when this comes into play is if you're using the dynamic planner, or um, if you're using the trade signals, so that BlackBird is set up as an auto trader. That's when this reward to risk ratio comes into play. So if you use the chart trader buttons, that option isn't accounted for when you're using the chart trader buttons. So let's see. So let's do an example here. So we'll leave this as a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio, just as it is, and we'll set up a order set. So we'll just create a simple market entry and a 10 tick target and a 10 tick stop loss. Yeah, we'll just click OK, and we'll go to the dynamic planner, and we'll try and put a trade on. Um, and let's see. So let's see. We got fit to scale turned on, and if you notice, the number of contracts got set to 0. Yeah. So we'll turn the fit to scale off, because we're not actually using money management rules here. And let's see. Yeah. There we go. Let's reset it. Yep. So turning the plan long, clicking the plan long button, basically reset our number of contracts there. All right. Um, and so now if we just click execute and okay, then let me take that back. So that risk reward actually is not applying to the dynamic planner. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. So it actually should be applying to the dynamic planner, but yeah, it's not right now. Um, so currently the risk reward is only applying to BlackBird set up as an auto trader, right? So um, let's see. Let's go back to, let's turn off the dynamic planning. We'll go back to the settings chart panel. And looking back at the settings chart panel, you notice that there's a shortcut button there. We can go straight to the risk from that panel. Yeah, so yeah, there's just kind of some quick buttons there just to get you there a little quicker. So if you are using the risk reward ratios, there you go, quicker. Um, let's see, so let's open that back up and let's go over the last two settings in this panel. So there's a exit trade when loss exceeds. Let's turn that on. So this will flatten out, well actually it'll close out your trade if you have a loss that exceeds a certain amount. Now this uses unrealized profits and loss, right? So this setting is monitoring your profit and loss in real time. And so if your loss exceeds this dollar amount that you put in here, so we could put in $200. And so if the total trade loses, the total trade that's open, if it's losing more than $200, then BlackBird will just flatten out the trade. Um, or, I'm just using $200 as an example, of course. You can put in any value you want there, but that's just kind of a secondary backup plan, right? So you, as you can see with BlackBird, it's very easy to build a really complex, uh, you know, OCO order set here. Um, so Mike, let's open up the order settings window again. And let's see, Mike, let's put on a couple more order sets. You can just do copy from, just to kind of put some on there, right? So we can see that you can build some very complicated order sets, and it might be difficult to know the full extent of what your risk could be, um, when you put a trade on. And so in the risk management area, um, you can use that setting. So Mike, could you open up the risk management? And so the exit trade when loss exceeds, so that's kind of like an absolute backstop. So so if you got a complex, some complex order settings there, with stop losses and stuff like that, like you could put in some complex stop loss trailing things, trailing rules, and and your stop losses could be, you could set them to match an indicator, such as like the ANA super trend indicator. Um, so there could be so when you're setting up your stop losses, if your stop losses are following a indicator value, right, you may not know exactly what your risk is. And so you can use this exit trade when loss exceeds to kind of keep, keep a bare minimum loss per trade um, uh, in place here, right? So with this $200, basically, if the loss for this trade with 3 contracts, if it ever gets to a $200 loss, regardless of where the stop losses is, if it gets to a $200 loss, then BlackBird will just close out the trade instead of letting your stop losses get hit, because your stop losses might take you out to a $300 loss, right? So just think of that as kind of like a secondary backstop to a absolute um, maximum loss per trade there. Right? So now, of course, that doesn't guarantee that your loss is going to be maintained to $200. Of course, what all that does is when BlackBird sees a loss of $200, then BlackBird's just going to flatten you out. So, um, all right, let's see. And the last option there is allow widening of stop losses during a trade. Right? So typically, right, stop losses are always tightened, but in this case, you could actually allow your stop loss to widen as well. Um, so with the trailing rules that you can use for a stop loss do have the potential to widen your stop loss instead of tightening your stop loss. And so, of course, this checkbox here will allow for that. So, all right. All right. So let's see. Let's go on to the money management uh, button there. Um, all right. So the first option at the top is the mode. So right now the default is Blackbird is this instance of Blackbird is running independent of the other Blackbirds. Now we can change this option so that we put this in kind of what I call group mode. And so now this Blackbird, its profits and loss will be uh, added to other Blackbirds that are also running in this group mode. So let's say you're running 3 Blackbirds, on 3 different instruments, and you want all of them to turn off at the same time once all 3 of them added together, make you a certain profit for the day. So what you'd want to do is you put them together in this group mode, and their profits and loss are added together, and then and then these Blackbirds will use the sum total of all 3 Blackbirds when it's calculating, whether it should turn off for the day or not. Right? That's kind of what that group mode's there for, or that calculation mode. That's what that's for. So the calculation mode, again, it's just adding the stats together of all the Blackbirds running in group mode, right? So it adds their profit and loss together. It adds the total number of trades together, the total consecutive wins and losses. So all of these stats here, right? So you can see the money management is just kind of a window of all this statistical information that you can use to um, turn basically automatically turn Blackbird off for the day once one of these metrics here has been hit for the day. So um, let's see, the daily safeguards here, these are pretty simple standard stuff. There's number of trades, so you can make sure that Blackbird isn't over trading for the day as well. So if you like set that up to, I don't know, 50 trades, then basically Blackbird would stop trading if it ever takes 50 trades um, in a day. That way your broker doesn't get too rich. So, um, of course, there's max consecutive wins. So, I don't know. You could set that to like 10, and if you get 10 winners in a row, then you could just tell BlackBird, okay, just stop trading. So I got 10 winners in a row. That 11th one might be a loser, and so I'll just stop after 10. Um, max consecutive losses in a row, max number of winning trades uh, versus the max number of losing trades. So maybe something a little more practical is the max number of losing trades. And, so say, for example, you kind of know what your system's looking like. And so the maximum of losing trades. So Mike, if you could point that out. Um, there we go. So right there where the cursor is, so let's say you want BlackBird to stop trading after 10 losing trades, right? If it has 10 losing trades for the day, just turn it off. Um, so, pretty simple statistical information that you can use to turn BlackBird off for the day. Now you notice these are called daily safeguards, right? So this only works for the day. So once you hit midnight, then what happens is BlackBird resets its stats at midnight, and then these daily safeguards will get recounted again. Basically, they got all the trade stats get zeroed out, and then these daily safeguards will be used again on the following day. So, all right, some settings that are probably more commonly that will more commonly be used is the max profit and loss area here. So you can set a max profit for the day or a max loss for the day. Um, so whatever you want for your max profit for the day. Um, so stop trading. Basically, you check that, and BlackBird will stop trading when it makes $1,000 for the day. Um, and you'll notice Mike just changed the calculation mode to individual BlackBird, and now you can use the enforced during live trades, right? So as I explained earlier, the enforced during live trades will um, look at unrealized profit or loss, right? So let's just say on your last trade, you made $950 on your last trade, and now um, BlackBird has another trade open. And so as soon as BlackBird makes $50 in unrealized profit and loss, then BlackBird will flatten out that trade and um, just shut down for the day. So that's with the enforced during live trade turned on. So, and of course, net max loss. So you can tell BlackBird, if I lose more than $300, just turn off for the day, something like that. All right, the next option is account risk. So, um, and so if you're wanting to use the account risk, typically you're going to need to put your account size in there, right? So currently you do need to put your account size in there. Um, eventually we'll have BlackBird um, grab your account balance um, in real time. It'll actually grab your real account balance, but for the meantime we have just plug in your account balance in there. All right, uh, and that's for some of the settings here. I'll show you what the account size will apply to here in just a moment. So, um, all right, the risk per trade. Let's go over the risk per trade. So you'll notice right now the default settings is 2% of the, and it's 2% of the account size. So it says per percent of account. So that's why we need to set the account size. So if you wanted to risk a maximum of 2% of your account size, or 2% of your account, then that's why you need to put in the account size so that BlackBird can calculate what is 2% of your account. So, um, and that's,
Yeah,
yeah, under,
I wanted to point out real quick that there's a comma here, and that's actually a decimal separator.
yeah, currently right now Mike's machine is set to European numbers, so that actually that's why there's a comma there, because that's actually in U.S. numbers that would be 2.000 or 2%. But since this VMware is set up for European number system, it has a comma instead of a period. Um, all right, yeah. So under percent of account, you can change that to a fixed dollar amount or cash amount. So if we put fixed amount, then it'll switch from a percentage to a dollar amount. So there we go, we have a dollar amount. So if I want, I could say, risk no more than $200 per trade. And so you just put $200 in there. And so what BlackBird will do is, um, it's going to check your stop losses and make sure that your stop losses uh, do not add up to more than $200 in losses if your stop losses get hit. All right, so that's directly what that setting applies to is BlackBird will add up the cash amount for each of your stop losses. So right now in our example we have 3 stop losses all set to 10 ticks. Um, and so let's see. Um, so if those 3 stop losses add up to more than $200 in loss, then basically um, BlackBird will ignore the trade. It will not put the trade on because um, you've specified don't risk more than $200. So what you need to do is you need to go in and correct your stop losses so that your stop losses don't add up to more than $200 in a loss. So if we were trading oil, either we would have to increase our risk per trade to 300, right? Because each 10 tick stop loss is worth $100. And since we have 3 order sets, then 3 order sets at 10 ticks. So actually, Mike, can you close the money management window for a sec? So we've got three order sets here. They're all set to 10 tick stop losses. And so if we were trading oil, that would be a $300 risk, right? It's a $100 risk per order set. All right. So with that, so with 3 orders being $300 risk, then going into money management, we'd have to either increase our risk per trade to 300, or we'd have to cancel one of those orders, one of those order sets. So that way we're only trading 2 contracts. So, um, all right. And the last option here is the daily watermark. So, um, so we'll just kind of run through this, the watermark. Um, we gave a really good presentation in the sales webinar with the chart and everything. I kind of wish we had that chart handy, but we don't. Um, but what a watermark does is, let's see, let's set this up here to use a fixed dollar amount instead of percentages. Yeah. All right, so um, let's see, the first option here, the activate watermark after. Okay, so let's say um, in this example, we'll activate the watermark after $200 in profit has been achieved. Okay, so pretty simple. You need to get at least $200 in profits, and then the watermark feature will actually turn on and start to track your watermark. So now the next one is stop trading after. So let's just put $100 in that one. All right. So let's say we've made $250. Right. In a couple of trades, we've made $250 in profits, net profit for the day, and we have our stop trading after set to $100. So what that means is if our highest profit for the day is $250, then if we take a $100 loss, then BlackBird will stop trading at that point. It'll just stop trading because your watermark has been hit. So again, if you've made $250 for the day, and we have to stop trading after a $100 loss, right? Then that means if our net profit and loss drops down to $150, then BlackBird will stop trading for the day. So let me do another example. Let's say BlackBird, makes $500. So it just closed out a trade and it's up to $500. Well, our high watermark is going to be set at $400. So the high watermark is going to trail our highest profit for the day by $100. Right? So you can think of the watermark as kind of like a stop loss for your net profit and loss for the day. Right? So again, back to the $500 example. Let's say you've got your account up to $500 in profit, net profit for the day. And so the high watermark is going to be set at $400. So if your profits drop to $400 or drop below it, then BlackBird will just stop trading for the day and just capture that that profit that profit that's just at $400 for the day. So the high watermark is very useful so that your system doesn't give up all of its profits for the day. So, um, and all right, so let me pause here for a moment and go through the questions. So a bunch of questions have come in. Let's see. Okay. All right. We got a couple questions here from Julie. So Julie's asking, does the trade get flattened at the point at that point or at the bar close? All right. Yeah. So Julie's talking about the unrealized options here. So let's get the order settings window back open. And we'll go to money management. All right, so we're talking about the enforce during live trade options there. Right, so the high watermark has a enforce during live trades, and so does the max profit or loss area. Yeah, so those are using unrealized P&L. So they get flattened in real time. So they do not wait for the bar to close. They get flattened in real time using unrealized P&L. So it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what BlackBird's calculate on bar close setting is set to. So if BlackBird is running with calculate on bar close set to true, those still work in real time. So, all right, and let's see the next question here. And let's see, okay, also that question applied to the exit trade when loss exceeds. So that's in the risk management. So let's go to the risk management. Yeah, so right there, that's already still turned on. So exit trade when loss exceeds $200. That also works in real time as well. Ah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, Frank's got a question here. In order to prevent over trading, is there a way to set a minimum time between trades? No, there isn't, Frank. Not currently. Um, but that is one of the options we have. Um, so yeah, kind of look for that in the future here, Frank. So let's see, Stefan is asking, are there any plans to support long-term trades, for example, swing trades, extending days or weeks? Um, Actually, BlackBird already supports that. So, um, yep, BlackBird already supports that. So all you gotta do is just keep your NinjaTrader open the entire time. So that's a NinjaTrader limitation. So you won't be able to shut down NinjaTrader. So yeah, NinjaTrader will lose track. Well, yeah, if you shut down NinjaTrader, then Ninja cannot reassociate the orders with the strategy that it executed. So, but NinjaTrader does support, string trade, swing trading. Um, like if you're doing trading stocks, for example, and you want to use BlackBird to trade stocks. All you have to do is just turn NinjaTrader on and just keep it connected to the data feed. So, and let's see. Oh, right. Okay, yeah. So, good point there, Stefan. So, Stefan is, yeah, saying that the risk and money management setting zero out at midnight. Um, yeah, we'll have to figure out, which money management, because most of those money management do apply to day traders, but of course some of them could apply to stock traders who are swing trading. So yeah, we'll take a closer look at that in some future updates there, Stephen. Good, good suggestion there. Let's see. All right, Raymond is asking. Right, Raymond's asking, how do you show the performance tab um, from the BlackBird layout menu? Let's see, you couldn't get yours to show for some reason, huh, Raven? Um, yeah, you should be able to just check it there, and it should just show up. Um, you know what you could do, Raymond, is use the reset button there. So Mike just kind of showed you that clicking that reset button. So if we if we open the layout again, and there's a reset button there. Yeah, so try that reset button there, Raymond. and then the performance window should open for you. All right, let's see. The next question from Raymond is it possible to use BlackBird to trigger a reverse limit order when the last stop loss is hit? Um, not directly within BlackBird. So, um, you know, uh, the trade signals are either going to be, bloodhound or indicator-based trade signals. All right. So, yeah, I mean, as far as getting into the trade, you only have two options here: bloodhound or indicator-based signals. So, um, yeah, reversing a trade based on a stop loss or something like that gets a little tricky. Um, that kind of gets more into a very highly customized strategy. So, um, yeah, we might be able to look into this, something like that, into the future here. Um, and we don't really want to tackle any complicated or complex enhancements to Blackbird yet. We want to get, we want to start working on Ninja 8 before we get into anything, any advanced or complex kind of options or enhancements to Blackbird. Yeah, so we could look at something like that much further down the road. So after Ninja 8 support. Let's see. All right. Vlad is asking, how do you apply a different signal to A, B, or C order sets? Um, all right, so right now all we have is order set A open. So let's open up another order set B, and we'll do one more C. All right, so we have an order set A, B, and C. So there currently isn't a way to apply a different signal to different order sets, not within this window. The way you would do that is you would actually want to run. So if you, the proper way to do that, Vlad, is if you have different signals that will be running different order sets. So in other words, if you have signal A and for some reason you want signal A to have a 10 tick profit target and 10 tick stop loss, and then you have like signal B, but you want signal B to trade, a 20 tick profit and a 20 tick stop loss, then you should be running two separate Blackbirds, right? That's the proper way to do that. All right, so let's see. The next button we're working on is the scheduling. Okay, so we already kind of did the scheduling a little bit earlier because we had added a new feature, but scheduling. So the whole purpose of the scheduling is to limit the time of day when Blackbird can trade. If you want, you can create your own custom scheduling just by double-clicking somewhere. Um, you can also set the your time zone. So, if you double-click somewhere, like what Mike just did, you can set in a time there. So you can put your own time, your own trade times in there. And then once you got your own trade times in there, you know, if you're going to set it up for your time zone, if you're going to set the trading hours up for your time zone, then make sure you go down to the time zone and set this up to the correct time zone, for the trading times that you're allowing. So, right. Another option is you can load a session. You can load one of NinjaTrader's session templates, right? So you can see there's all the session templates that NinjaTrader has, And probably the most common one is all the way at the bottom under U.S. equities, regular trading hours. All right, so those are the standard trading hours that the exchange is open, right, and that instruments are traded. So you can just load that up, and then you can go in and you can customize it. So, right, let's say you don't want to trade until 4 o'clock. You could say, stop trading, whatever, an hour earlier. So you can just change that to an hour earlier, and then click OK. And so that way, now BlackBird will stop auto trading an hour earlier. And you can also drag. So Mike is showing that you can grab the top or the bottom, and you can drag them as well. Um, if you don't need, if you don't need, refined controls, you can just drag those green boxes, grab the top of the box or the bottom of the box, and just drag it around. Right? So like when you're shrinking those boxes or enlarging those boxes, they're gonna they're gonna snap to whatever the increment is. So you can see that there's different time increments, and it defaults to an hour, right? So if you need to have finer control, like if we select 15 minutes there, then if you look at the so you can see the right, the boxes are a lot longer now, but now when you're dragging, when you're enlarging the boxes or shrinking them or dragging them, they're going to snap to every 15-minute increment now, like so. So now they're snapping to a 15-minute increment. If you needed to, you could set it down to a 5-minute increment. So whatever works for you, yeah, like that. So, yeah. So now when we're moving the times around, they're going to snap to every 5 minutes or so. So, okay, so those green areas, those green boxes, that is the times in which BlackBird is allowed to open a trade, right? Those are for opening a trade. Um, Now you can specify when BlackBird is to flatten your trade by using the enforce trades to exit. Right, so we kind of talked about this earlier, this force trades to exit. So right now we have it set to 900 minutes, negative 900 minutes, seconds, I'm sorry, negative 900 seconds. So 900 seconds is 15 minutes. So what that means is, so let's kind of go to Monday. Let's go down to Monday. So there's Monday where the cursor is. And if we take a look at when the last trade can take place on Monday, um, there we go. So it's at 4 p.m. Eastern time zone, 4 p.m. Eastern time zone. And so what that would mean is that, so the last trade could be taken at 4 p.m. And then, so say like, for example, you get a trade signal that comes in at 3:59, right? A few seconds before 4 o'clock. So you got a trade open, just before 4 o'clock. And then with the force trades to exit set to negative 900 seconds, that's 15 minutes. So Blackbird would flatten that trade 15 minutes after 4 o'clock, right? Because the green square, its end time is 4 o'clock. So 15 minutes after 4 o'clock is when Blackbird would flatten that trade, right? That's a little impractical. Something that would be more practical is if we go to Friday. If we take a look at Friday, Friday ends at 3 o'clock. So the last trade could be taken at 3 o'clock, and then at 3:15, Raven would flatten your trade. Right? So with the enforced trades to exit, with it set to negative 900 seconds, and that means BlackBird would exit the trade at 3:15 on Friday there. So, all right. Well, the scheduling is pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and move over to the account performance button. All right. So the account performance, basically, the account performance is just kind of a, it's a shortcut. So you can quickly see how BlackBird is doing. Um, Built into NinjaTrader, they also give you, strategy performance. They have a strategy performance report, and you could use that to, get some data, some feedback on how the BlackBird strategy is doing, such as the net P&L and stuff. Um, but the account performance is just an easier way to get some of that trading performance data. It's just a quicker way of getting to it. Um, you'll see that there's a individual tab and a group tab, right? So you can check to see how BlackBird is doing on its own, how just this instance of BlackBird's doing. But also you could see, how is the group of Blackbirds doing? Because remember, so going back to the money management um, rules there, which you won't be able to click on it. But going back to the money management, um, if you remember the calculation mode, right? There was an individual, and so there was the this instance of Blackbird, and then there was a group mode, right? So that will right. So if that calculate mode is set to group mode, then it would contribute to the profit and loss that shows up on the group tab, right? So if we look at the group tab, all the Blackbirds that are set to that group mode, their P&L is going to be added together, their profit and loss will be added together, and it'll show up on this group tab here. So, all right, now you'll notice that the name says override account performance. So the reason why it has the word override is if you notice all of those metrics there, they have what they call scroll buttons there, so you can add or subtract to any of those values there. So that allows you to override the account performance. um, one practical reason for overriding the account performance is, say for example, you started BlackBird late in the morning, right? So you didn't get BlackBird started off right away when the market opens, right? You got BlackBird started later in the day, but later in the morning, about an hour after the market opens. And so during that hour that you missed, um, you know, BlackBird, you can see that basically you missed a couple of trades during that hour. So what you can do is you can roughly, if you want to take those missed trades and factor them in to BlackBird's performance for the day, you can do that by overriding the net profit, the net P&L, and you can override the number of trades. So what you could do is, say like if it would have made, $125, or $150, for those trades that were missed in the first hour, and then you could put in, so if it missed 2 trades, you could put in it missed 2 trades, so you could put the total number of trades up to 2, um, and put your profit up to 150. If it would have made 150 bucks, let's say that if the first 2 trades were losing trades during the day and you wanted to factor those in, then whatever you could put, negative $100 in there, negative $150, you know. So that's kind of what the account override is for. So you can factor in trades that you missed because you didn't start BlackBird right away, um, things like that. Um, or whatever other kind of reason you might have, you know. So if you're using the money management, to tell BlackBird to stop trading after $1,000 in profit, you could go into this and you could knock the profit. Let's say BlackBird's pretty close to that $1,000 mark, but for some reason you wanted it to trade, take a 1 or 2 extra trades. You could go in here and you could take your net profit and you could adjust it down. You could subtract $100 manually from your net profit. Knock it down to 900, right? And that would basically that would trick BlackBird into taking a few extra trades, and actually make more than $1,000, or whatever you have your money management rules set to. So, right. Um, let's see. If for some reason you need to completely start over from the beginning, like you want to zero out all of your account performance information, there's a reset button there. So you can click the reset all button and that will clear everything out. Right? You can see it sets everything to 0. Now that reset all, it only applies to the tab that you have clicked on. So if you need to clear out the group, then you need to clear out, you'll have to select group and then hit reset all, and then, right, so you can see that that did not reset the group settings. So if you need to reset the group, you'll have to click on the group tab and hit reset all. So the reset all button only applies to whatever tab you have selected there. Okay. So, okay, keep in mind this account performance window does not run in real time. It only shows you the um, um, realized profit and loss, realized trades. So it's not showing you unrealized trades, and it doesn't update itself in real time either. So I guess let's move on to the options button next. So let's close this out. We'll open up the options here. Okay, so there's some miscellaneous options, things that don't really kind of belong with any of the other buttons. So kind of like the miscellaneous stuff gets thrown in this options window here. So first one, allow re-entry on same bar. So let's say this is the exact same option as in Raven, right? So, but for anybody who's not familiar with Raven, let's say you're trading using a 15-minute bar. You're trading, right? And so a trade goes on, and a trade. Let's say you have BlackBird set up so that BlackBird is trading intra-bar. So in other words, BlackBird could place a trade in the middle of a bar. Right, automatically place a trade as a bar is building. Right, and so if you're trading a 15-minute bar, then what could happen is, say for example, you could get your profit target hit, or maybe you get your stop loss hit in the middle of that bar, and then you could get another trade signal. Right, so it's theoretically possible that BlackBird could take multiple trades on the same 15-minute bar. um, and so if you want BlackBird to be able to trade as many times as it wants to inside the same bar, then you just check that, and that will allow BlackBird to re-enter on the same bar, or in the same bar. So in other words, you could take 2, 3, 4, multiple trades in the same bar if you have that checked. So now that option only applies when you have calculate on bar close set to false, right? So by default, calculate on bar close is set to true. So therefore that setting has no effect. It's only when calculate on bars close equals false. So Mike, let's show that option real quick here. So if you open up your strategy window, you click on BlackBird, and you'll see there's a calculate on bar close option there. Yeah, right there. So the default setting for that is true, which means when it's set to true, BlackBird can only take one trade per bar. But if you need to run it set to false, then theoretically, BlackBird could take many, many trades on the exact same bar. And so that's what that option is for, is when calculate on bar close is set to false, but you still only want BlackBird to take only one trade per bar. That's what that option is for. And that option does not actually apply to the chart trader. It only applies to auto trading as well. All right, so we'll just wait for Mike to get his BlackBird going again here in its default mode. All right, so by default, allow re-entry on same bar. By default, it's unchecked. So that means BlackBird will only take one trade per bar. Right, and that's in the auto trading, so that doesn't apply to using the chart trader buttons. So, all right, next one, enter only when flat. So what that does is that prevents BlackBird from reversing. So when it's checked, just as the name implies, BlackBird has to be flat before it can re-enter a trade. So in other words, Raven can't reverse itself. Right? So if Raven has a trade on, it cannot enter a trade again. It cannot enter a trade in the opposite direction. BlackBird has to wait until it's flat before it can open up a position. Right? So checking that option basically means BlackBird cannot reverse your trade. Right? It has to wait for your profit or stop loss to get hit and go flat before it can enter a new trade. Okay, let's see. The next option down, allow auto trades during manual position. So this option actually applies to the chart trader buttons. So, so we can see the chart trader buttons there on the right. Okay, so it is possible. So if you have BlackBird set up to do auto trading for you, then so BlackBird, you can set it up to auto trade, but you can also place manual trades as well. You could hit one of those buttons, or you could use the dynamic planner and you could manually open a position, right? So that option.
Sorry, my virtual box just crashed.
Uh-oh. Oh, shoot. Well, folks, yay,
Let me bring it back up.
software issues here. Okay, so we're talking about the auto trades during manual position. All right. So again, you can set BlackBird up, to do some auto trading, but at the same time, you could also use the chart trader buttons, right? Or you could use the dynamic planning, and you can manually um, put yourself into a position as well, right? And so what that option allows is for BlackBird to override your manual position if it needs to. So say, for example, you use one of the chart trader buttons and you put yourself into a long position, but then BlackBird gets BlackBird gets an auto trade signal to go short. Well, then BlackBird, that option would allow BlackBird to all right, let's let Mike get the order settings window back open here again. Yeah. So allow auto trades during a manual position. What that would do is it's allowing BlackBird to override your manual positions, right? So if you use the dynamic planner, or if you use BlackBird's chart trader buttons to manually open a position, then checking this box will allow BlackBird to override your position, which basically just means that um, if you decide you want to go long, but then BlackBird gets a short trade signal, then BlackBird will reverse your long position into a short, since it got that short trade position. All right, let's see. Next option down, advanced options. Um, so incoming market data throttle. So um, what this really primarily is used for is, again, when BlackBird, if you're running BlackBird with that calculate on bar close option, if you have it set to false, then what NinjaTrader does is NinjaTrader tries to run BlackBird every time some kind of incoming tick happens. And due to the sophisticated nature of BlackBird, that can um, uh, most computers aren't fast enough to handle that much data um, and that much calculations from BlackBird. So this incoming market data throttle, what that does is it sets a limit as to how often BlackBird will actually do a calculation, right? So this value is in milliseconds. So there's 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second. So 1 second equals 1,000 milliseconds. So right now, set to 300, what that means is that BlackBird will update itself 3 times a second, or every third of a second, 3 times a second. So now the lowest setting, yeah, 333 is actually technically a third of a second. So the lowest setting here is 200 milliseconds. So that is 5 times a second. So 200 is 5 times a second. So if you try and go less than 200, it'll knock it back up to 200. 200 is the lowest setting. So 200, which is 5 times a second, right? So that's plenty fast enough for BlackBird to really do anything, is 5 times a second there. Right. So instead of without this throttling, basically depending on the instrument, it's theoretically possible that NinjaTrader could try and get BlackBird to, recalculate 100 times a second if you have that much volume coming in. And most computer processors just can't kind of handle that. Right, so that's why we put this throttling in here to try and create some kind of a minimum number of times that BlackBird will calculate, and therefore helping NinjaTrader to keep running without getting really slow and bogged down. Right. All right, and the last option here, feedback options, it says disable debug messages. So BlackBird provides a lot of information to you. So when you're testing your order sets and you're testing your money management, you can see there's a lot of options. And so there could be a lot of reasons as to why a trade was not taken, or a reason why a trailing stop loss wasn't trailing. Um, there's a lot of, since BlackBird has a lot of settings, right, there's a lot of things, that are being, there's a lot of, um, what's a good word here? There's a lot of variables going on inside of BlackBird, and so it can be hard to keep track of, all these settings that we have set up, and so it's easy to forget or misunderstand why something is not happening within BlackBird. Why didn't a trade get taken? Why didn't a stop loss get trailed? Right? So, so to help you guys understand what's going on, um, BlackBird will send out all kinds of information to NinjaTrader's output window. Right? So let's pull up the control center. So if we pull up the control center, we have to close this out first. And if you go to Tools, and there at near the bottom, there's Output window right there. So if you open that up, BlackBird will um, BlackBird will write out, it'll print out um, all kinds of information as to why trailing rules are working and why trailing rules are not working. Um, why trades might have been skipped and things like that. Um, so that last option will basically just disable those messages for you. So, which will give it'll give a minor increase in performance if you disable that stuff. So, right, if you do disable this, that will give a minor improvement in performance. So for someone who might be, building a really complex system and really kind of maxing out their CPU with NinjaTrader, they might want to check that, disable messages, right? So, all right, let's see. Let's move on to the audio alerts. It's simple enough, right? If you don't, so if you want to use the audio alerts, you have to turn off your NinjaTrader audio sounds, right? So that NinjaTrader's sounds override BlackBird's sounds here. So if you notice, if you go to Tools and Options, right, the General tab, there's all those sounds, right? So if you want to use your own custom sounds, you need to turn these sounds off first, because most of these sounds will override BlackBird sounds, right? So we'll have to turn those off. At least turn some of those off um, in order to hear BlackBird's audio sounds. So, right. So, anyways, the audio sounds is pretty simple enough. You can just kind of customize, some kind of sound alert when BlackBird enters a trade. That's really what it's for. So when BlackBird enters a trade or exits a trade, so if we go to audio alerts, there we go. Yeah. So you have entry alerts and you have exit alerts. So you can just set your own custom audio sounds there. All right, but just make sure that you have the NinjaTrader sounds turned off first. So, okay. The last button is just the help menu, right? It's this help menu is the same thing, is the same help menu on the trade controls chart panel. So right there where Mike's going to show you. Yeah, right there. Same thing, help menu there. So, all right. Well, guys, that's the management buttons there. So, um, so now I'll open it up to some Q&A and see if anybody has any questions. Vlad is asking. All right. So if BlackBird is already in a trade, how do you add to the position? How do you add to the trade? So there's two ways that you can do that, Vlad. So first, let's kind of state that if BlackBird already has a position open, and let's say another trade signal comes in, BlackBird is not going to add another position if one is already open. Okay, but what you can do is, if you want to keep adding to your position, what you can do is set up multiple order sets. So you could set up a limit order, for example. So if we did a limit order based on some indicator value, um, or you could just do a or just throw a limit order in there, further away from price, whatever you want. Um, so we can just do an offset of, let's say, a 20 tick offset from the closing price. So, no, not the look back period. Let's do a 20 tick offset. Yep. So like that. And if you wanted to leg in again, um, so if you wanted to leg in again, we could create an order set B, or C, I'm sorry, we could, order set C, and we could set that to a limit order, and we could set it to, I don't know, a 40 tick offset, for example. All right, so let's just kind of take this as an example, and let's just click OK, and let's just place the trade. All right, and let's see. You guys notice those entry orders actually got removed, and let's see, probably we might have some money management rule turned on or something like that. So let's check our money management and risk reward. Let's see, all right, everything's turned off, and let's see, where's the risk reward? And that's all turned off as well. Let's see. Here we go, Mike. So those need to be negative values. So actually, if you look, guys, those limit orders actually got filled. If you look at the number of contracts, we have 3 contracts open right now. We're long 3 contracts. That's because those limit orders were set 20 ticks above the market, so they got filled instantly. Yeah. So these need to be, so the offset is typically you need to be a negative number like that. Yeah. So let's do this one more time. There we go. So there you go. You can see we have 2 limit orders kind of waiting. So that's one way that you can leg in. We could also set up a stop order as well as a way to leg in. So if we open up the order settings window, we could change one of them to a stop. Yep. And let's change the initial placement to positive 20 ticks. So, right, a stop is going to be above the market. So it's going to be 20 ticks above the market. So, yep. All right. And, let's click OK. Flatten that. Let's put the trade on again. So there we go. So now we have a stop order, right, sitting above, and it actually just got picked up. And we also have a limit order. So there you go. So that's basically 2 ways there that you can add to the position. All right. And so Vlad did not want to add to the position manually. Actually, you can't add to the position manually. So once setting a limit order or a stop entry order, those are the 2 ways that you can add to a trade, right? So once a position is open, BlackBird doesn't allow you to add to that position, right? The way that you add to the position is you can set up either stop entry orders or you can set up additional limit entry orders. Those are the ways that you can keep adding into a position, right? All right, well guys, I don't see any other questions coming in here, so great. All right, well guys, again, I apologize for my internet situation, and next week I should be good to go. So otherwise, I'd say, have a great weekend coming up, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow in the Bloodhound workshop. All right, thanks guys, and just a reminder, you're always welcome to email your questions in ahead of time. All right, thanks guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.